For our implementation meeting number 3, we met on November 5th. Patience was the facilitator, Sharita and I were the recorders, and Jeremy was the timekeeper. The first thing that we talked about during our meeting was Jeremy's artifact, which was a science talk, but to relate it to our goal, we turned it into a math talk. And his students were working on a mathematical task for 2 days. The students talked about their work and discussed how they would solve the problem orally with a partner. Then, once they had the discussion, they were able to adjust their written response work. They were submitting their responses using an editor tool for Park, and he stated that this talk helped the students. They were able to have a conversation and successfully complete the work. He also provided us with a student sample, which is presented below. After that in our meeting, we went into discussing the article that Patience picked. This is an article from Diigo. It is called Mathematical Teaching Strategies, Pathways to Critical Thinking and Metacognition. Patience's assumption was that the author thinks it's important for everyone to recognize math because it is all around us. She wanted to argue that the authors think that all students have the ability to expand their critical thinking while practicing mathematics, but she wanted to argue, what about students with disabilities? The students will be limited in their ability to practice critical thinking. Something she agreed with is that critical thinking brings out clarity of perception and communication. They will truly know and understand how to solve a problem if they know how to critically think. And Aspire, she wants to make more real-world connections when it comes to math to help her students. For Jeremy, his assumption is that the authors find that it is important that students need to critically think. For his argue, he wanted to argue the balance method that they talked about in the article. He thought that it did not make much sense. He believes that it's kind of like another cheat in math, and he prefers to use the area model. For his agree, he agrees that kids' first priority is number sense. If they don't understand numbers, then they can't make sense of math. And for Aspire, he wants to build more critical thinkers in the classroom, and not just in math, but he wants to do this for all subject areas. For myself, I think the author makes an assumption that it is easy for students to pick up or learn multiple ways to solve math problems. I wanted to argue the statement where the author said that students should ask questions in order to become better problem solvers, but what if you have students who don't know how to form those questions? Something I agreed with is that if you are a critical thinker, that skill will help you to determine what is important and what is not. For aspiration, I wanted to have my students be more excited about math and not shut down if they don't know the answer. I want them to be able to use the critical thinking skill to help them overcome that struggle. For Sharita, an assumption that she had is that many countries have an amazing mathematical integrity that contribute to a civilization all around the world, but why would the author assume that math solely exudes from European math? What about other countries that have math, such as Africa, Asia, and South America? Something that she wanted to argue is a quote that says, "A critically thinking student can realize that one can select the correct response or respond to any problem or decision that might arise." She wanted to argue that it could take more time and potentially be more difficult in some circumstances for critically thinking students to make a decision, to problem solve, and respond efficiently. Something that she agreed with was the quote above, and she agreed that it is a very effective statement and can be utilized in the classroom to promote learning strategies. And there is another quote from the article, and she agrees that students can utilize critical thinking effectively, but she wanted to make note that students learn critically thinking in different ways. And then lastly, for her aspiration, she thinks that it's important to recognize that math is all around us. If critical thinking can help with the quantitative and qualitative mathematics, then it can certainly benefit students in all other areas and connect mathematical thinking. Thank you.